Okay, hello. I'm going to very quickly cover the directions for exercise 4. So just a warning, this exercise does take a little bit more time to do than our previous exercises, mostly because there's a few techniques where you have to actually remove the background on a couple images, and that takes a little bit more time. Um, so let's go ahead and jump into it. So we've got our Canvas site here. You're going to download the files. Okay, and this should be a package with 3 images in it. Oh, we've got a PDF in there too. So let's take a look at our images. Some bat wings. We have an image of an iguana and an image of castle ruins. Okay, so we've downloaded that. We've got a PDF here with a couple pointers, but basically that PDF says to take a look at this online tutorial. This is a Toots Plus, or I guess it's called Evanto Toots now. Tutorial on how to create this kind of image, a fantasy image with a dragon, by compositing 3 images together. Now, this tutorial uses different images than what we're going to be using. Part of the grading part of this project is how well you improvise to make this tutorial work for different images. The images aren't very different, right? We already kind of looked at those. They are bat wings. So you're going to cut out the bat wings. Well, not in that order. First, you're going to bring in your castle. Okay, see how this one has a castle. Then you will bring in your iguana and transform him into more of a dragon-looking guy. And then you'll add some wings to him to complete the dragon effect. Okay, so if we look at our PDF, it says we're going to follow this tutorial, which is the one I've linked to. So it says number 1, to open the ruin. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll just open this in Photoshop. Okay. You'll notice this one does look different than this one, but it's still an old castle. The first thing you're going to want to do here is this image. When you try to place your lizard in here, you'll find he doesn't have enough headroom. So I'm just going to duplicate my original image, and what we're going to do is add some space to the top of the canvas. Okay, and so you do that by going to Image, Canvas Size. Now we're going to change these to %. We're going to make our height of our canvas at about 130%. Okay, and then I'm going to choose this little box right here. We want the canvas to grow up and out from the bottom. Okay, and this will actually make sure that when I add height to my canvas, it's adding it to the top and not to the bottom, because at the top is where we need it. Okay, so now we have this extra canvas space at the top. What you want to do is fill that in with sky. So how we're going to do that is by choosing the rectangular marquee tool, selecting the area we want to fill while including part of the sky. Okay, and then from here we go to Edit, Fill, and when you're filling, you're going to choose Content Aware. And this is a really great thing in Photoshop. If you've upgraded to the very newest version of Photoshop, I believe this still says Content Aware, but Content Aware is what we want. So we're going to make sure the blending mode is normal at 100% opacity. When I hit OK, it just fills in that space with what looks like sky. So that's a really cool thing that Photoshop can do, is it looks at the image surrounding it and it uses that to kind of guess what should be in this space. Okay, so that works really well for us. We've got our sky. At this point we can start bringing in our dragon. You can kind of skip over the step parts of this because we've already got our document size based off of our original background. Okay, so step 2 is adding the dragon. So we're going to go ahead and name this our ruins layer, or you can call it castle or what have you. Okay, now we're going to get our iguana. So I'm just going to open this in Photoshop, and what I'm going to do instead of dragging this in like this, which is placing it, that's called placing. We're not going to place. Instead of placing it, what you want to do is open the file in Photoshop, okay? Press Control or Command A on a Mac to select all, Command C to copy. Okay, so I've just copied by selecting all and then copying. I've copied all the pixels. And I'm going to come back here and press Command V. Okay, and it's going to want to change the color space. That's fine. Okay, and then when I do that, we're actually placing the dragon at 100% of its resolution. So you see this dragon is a lot larger in resolution than our original image. Now when I size down, I don't have to worry about whether I'm reducing the resolution on my dragon or not. Then I know what it is. So after I pressed Command T to get the transform. Okay, so let me step back. From here, I zoom out a little bit. I press Command T to get my transform tool. From there, I can size my dragon down. Holding the Shift key, I can scale this down without actually changing the size or the ratio of my sides. Okay, I'm not stretching my lizard. I'm holding Shift so that I don't stretch or squish him and get him down to size. Okay, now at this point what we want to do is drop the opacity of this layer down, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to place the lizard on top of these ruins in a manner that looks like he kind of fits there, okay? And what I usually like to do with him is flip him horizontally, have him facing the other way, okay? And then I kind of imagine, okay, his feet are on kind of this ridge here. What I'm going to do is hide his body behind this section of the castle and have his foot like coming over the front. So I've actually gotten lucky and have pretty good placement right there. Maybe he's a little bit smaller. Maybe he's not that huge. Okay, so I'm kind of looking at where his feet are. I'm kind of imagining that his feet are like holding on to this part of the castle. His body is going back behind it here. Okay, so we've got good placement for our lizard now, or our iguana. And now what you will want to do, I'm not going to take the time to do this for this tutorial, but what you want to do is remove the background on him. So you can choose to do that a couple ways. I would probably just mask it out and get a brush and start carefully masking it. I'll do a little bit here, for example. So get a hard round brush. You can start obviously with the big areas of the image. Then you'll go in and go in with a little bit more detail, right? And so I'm not going to do detailed work of this. You should do detailed work where you come in and clean up all the edges, getting rid of all the background, okay? You can choose to keep these spines on him or not. That's completely up to you. It takes a lot of time to go through and erase the stuff in between all the little spikies. So just for my demonstration purposes, I'm not going to keep that. I am doing this very quickly. It is very messy. I don't recommend you do this. You can get like this little, he has all this kind of extra neck pouchy stuff here you can get rid of. Okay, please zoom in and use a smaller brush and actually do some more detailed work when you do this. I just don't want this to be a super long video if I can help it. Okay, so we've got our iguana dude in here. He's masked out a little bit, and I've got his basic shape and his placement in. Okay, so after we have him placed, and he talks about how he did basically all of that, now we're going to go in and use the Liquify tool. Okay, so I'm going to go to Filter, Liquify. And in here, this shows what the layer looks like without the layer mask applied. So what you may want to do is, if you were using a layer mask, duplicate this layer, go ahead and you can right click and go to, or control click and go to apply layer mask, and that will actually delete those pixels. And then you can bring him in and go to liquify, and it gets rid of all that background stuff. And you can see where I was really messy and left some pieces in. But we'll go ahead and continue here. So this says to use the pucker tool. Okay, the pucker tool is, get this in a good spot here. Okay, the pucker tool is this one right here. You'll notice I think he was using CS5 or CS6 in the tutorial, but that's fine. All this stuff kind of works the same way. Okay. All this stuff kind of works the same way. So this is the pucker tool. He's saying to set the brush size to 150 and the brush density to 50. So where do we go into the tool options here? Oh, here we go. So brush density. So the settings in CS5 look to be a little bit different. Saying to set the brush size to 150. So we'll zoom this up a bit. And you can, this may vary because we probably have a slightly different resolution than he does. And then it's saying the density to 50. But we don't have a density option here. So we can just go ahead and also saying something about show backdrop. We don't have all these choices that I can tell. There may be a way to get. Oh, I see. He's actually using. No, he's in this window. I'm not sure where you get all these options, to be honest, but we don't really need it. It says make a few clicks over the lizard's eye to make it smaller. So we'll pucker his eye a little bit. Then we'll go to the warp to. This is like where you can push edges in a little bit. So we're going to make his face just be a little bit narrower, maybe closer to what a dragon might look like here. Okay. I'm going to give him kind of a pointier face. Push some of this in. And this is all kind of just up to personal preference, how you want this stuff to be shaped. Just giving him a little bit sleeker look. Okay, so that's the pucker tool. That's a new tool. You can, it has some very specific guidance on what to do. You can get your guy looking however you feel works. And then hit OK. And then it says it makes it a little bit blurry, so we can sharpen him a little bit. So there's a quick sharpen. If you just go to Filter, Sharpen, Sharpen. Okay, and we've sharpened him a little bit. Okay, so then he talks about adding wings. I will very quickly do this. I expect you guys to take some more time as you're going through this. So we'll bring in our bat wings to Photoshop. You can even, if you don't want to use the whole bat, you can kind of select just the wing, copy, paste it in here. What I'm going to do very quickly is just flip it around like this. Okay, I'm going to save my file because I haven't done that yet. Save it as dragon. Okay, so I've got this wing here, and what I need to do is obviously mask out the external area of the wing. So I will, again, very quickly, I'm expecting you guys to be a little bit more detailed with this. I'm going to very quickly mask out the parts of the bat and everything that is not wing. I'm doing this very messily and hastily. I don't have a lot of time to get this video done, so I'm trying to hurry. Okay, and then I'll duplicate that. This is called wing masked. I'll call this lizard mask. This is lizard liquify. And then this is, I'm just going to apply the layer mask here. Call this wing. Okay, so I've got this wing. I want to place this in an appropriate spot on my guy to make it seem like a wing. And like, I can't stress enough, this is a really messy version that I'm doing. I expect you guys to spend more time and be a little bit more cleanly with what you're doing. Where's my eraser tool? Eraser. You can also just duplicate the layer and do the eraser tool if you don't want to go through masking. In some cases that works fine. Okay, and what I kind of want to do is I want to blend this a little bit. So I'm going to choose a not all the way black color. And one moment, I'll have to edit this phone call out. It's Justin. Hello? And they hung up. Okay, guess I don't need to edit the phone call out. Okay, so I have a slightly gray brush that I'm using on a mask to thought I had a slightly gray brush on a mask. What's going on? How come we're not brushing? Oh, I don't have my brush. I actually was using the eraser tool. Of course, so a slightly gray brush, soft brush, I want to use on this layer mask to kind of blend this wing a little bit. So it looks like it's kind of attaching to the side, okay? Find your bat or download this one, extract one of the wings, we did that. Okay, so he's saying to use the Liquify tool on the wing also. So let's see what that looks like. Window, no, filter, Liquify, and what he's saying is to kind of change the pointiness of the wing or something. I'll just smooth it out a little bit here where I was hasty in my masking. We'll just make it have some more pronounced kind of pointy winginess here. Okay, so now we've got our wing. And then it says to kind of slightly mask out where it's attaching, which I've kind of done. Maybe Maybe my wing is actually a lot larger than this. Okay, it's kind of maybe coming this way. He's a pretty big dragon. Okay, now change the wings layer hue saturation by clicking Command U and set the following values. Okay, you may or may not use these settings, but if I pick this guy, if I go to Command U, it comes up with this setting, and I'm just going to try to get the wing to match the color of my guy a little bit. Okay. Now that I see it, it feels a little bit too big. Which way do wings face on dragons? Who knows? Who knows? Okay, so we've got a wing. Now he's warping it a little bit. Okay, let's try warping, edit, transform, warp. And this warp tool gives you this this kind of box that you can more carefully warp what's happening with it than some of the other warp settings. So I'm just going to stretch this out and make it look a little bit more aerodynamic, I guess. Okay, and I'm going to do a sharpen on that. Okay. Okay, so what he's doing is using a white brush to paint over the wing's layer mask to reveal some little areas of the wing to create a nice joint. Okay, so I've already erased that stuff, but I kind of have an area that could be a joint around here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to place this on the shoulder blade, what might be the shoulder blade right above his leg, and then I'll go in with my mask and try to blend this a little bit more so that it's kind of happening right there in that location. So possibly it's kind of coming out of right behind this kind of skin flap here. Okay. And that's, you know, you can use the white brush to reveal some of it back again. It's really hard to get this perfect. This takes some time and practice to do, but so I'm gonna have that happening kind of right there. Okay. Oh, and I skipped a step where we actually duplicate the wing. So once you have your wing in place here, what you want to do is, I'm going to call this front wing. Okay, I'm going to duplicate it, and this is going to be the back wing. Okay, and then that duplicated one we can move over, kind of slightly offset it as if it's behind the other wing. We can actually move this behind that wing. And then we can actually move this behind the lizard because that's where it's appearing, right? Should appear behind the lizard. And then we can kind of get it in the right spot. Make it feel like it's kind of placed correctly. Okay, so now I've got my wings, I've got my lizard. I said to make that a little bit smaller. I guess that makes sense. Tiny bit smaller. And then because this is this is not the inside of the wing, he's saying to kind of clone some of these areas. That makes sense. So I'm going to use a soft brush to kind of make this not look so much like it's the inside of the wing like this one. We're going to make it look like the outside of the wing. So we'll kind of use the clone tool to clean up a little bit of these areas. So you can use a little bit of the healing brush tool also. That blends well. Okay, then we've got an outside wing and not the inside of it. Okay. Okay, then I'm personally going to skip these steps. However, you guys can perform them if you think yours needs it. So this step, it's using the bloat tool, which is this little one in the Liquify panel, to shape the fingers a little bit. Okay, then it's saying to copy this part of the castle, which we can do. That makes sense. So our lizard, what's happening is he should be going behind the castle here. So this is saying to copy part of the castle and put it above him. The other thing you can do is just mask out your lizard, which is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to take a brush and kind of start to paint out where the castle is, and then what I can do is paint back in. Oh yeah, I need black to fully hide it. Okay, so I'm going to paint out my lizard on the mask to give the impression that he is behind the castle there. And then I'll get a hard brush and come back in with white. I chose white here. Come back in and paint this guy back in along the side of the castle. His leg is actually coming in front of the castle, so we can leave his leg being visible. Okay, then it looks like our lizard is behind the castle. Or at least that part of his body. Okay, so he's kind of stepping up over this part of the castle. Okay, and then it talks about lighting. So we need to add some shadow layers. So what you can do is I'm going to make a copy of this ruins layer. And actually what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to do that. Well, I'll do it how this says. So this says, once you've created 2 copies of the dragon, let's change the lighting. Okay. Okay, so this is you're duplicating your dragon to make the lighting closer to your original image. I don't know if we need that in here. I'll let you decide if you want to do these steps for yours or not. it may be that our lighting is close enough between our images. Maybe, maybe the wings on the maybe the wings are a little bit bright. Maybe you want to darken the wings up to match. I'll let you choose if you want to do this step. Okay, the next step that's important for you to do, you should be doing all of these. I'm trying to just give you some pointers on a couple of the important pieces. So as you go through the steps, you may choose to do these or not because they may fit our images and they may not. You can improvise here. That's part of the point here. But what you do need to do is add some shadow underneath the dragon. So I think that there's a step. Yeah, so how this does adding the shadows is on the ruins layer on the castle. It's saying to use the burn tool. So you can use this tool to kind of darken. Let's see, so I need to make sure my tool is darkening midtones. I'm going to bump up my exposure a little bit. I'm using a soft brush. And what you should be able to do is come in and paint in some shadows underneath the lizard's body, underneath his foot, maybe in some areas over here. Maybe you're also going to come into the actual lizard layer and paint a little bit of shadow underneath the wing. And then you're gonna make it just look like there's actually shadow happening underneath the lizard, right? Because he should be casting a shadow on top of this building. So you use the burn tool to do that on top of the castle layer. Okay, so we've got some shadow in. Let's see, what else do we have? So it's saying to put the dragon into its own layer and group it, which you will do. I'll go ahead and do that now. And then it's saying to duplicate that and merge it, which we can do. Layer, merge group is how you do that, okay? I'll call this dragon group. Okay, then we've got a layer that is just our dragon. Okay. Now it says we're going to add dramatic style to the sky. Use the magic wand tool to select the sky on the castle layer. Okay, that's easy enough. Magic wand tool. Sometimes you have to, if it's only picking a certain area, oh whoops, I'm not in the right layer. So let me get to the right layer here. See how it's missing a little spot here? What you can do is hold the shift key and then you can add extra areas to that selection. Okay, so that. Then I want to also add the area inside of this window. I think these windows are covered up by the dragon, so I'm not going to worry about those. And then there's a little spot right here. That's covered up by the dragon too. Okay, so this means that I just have my sky selected. It's probably hard to see on the video, but you can see the little marching ants going around the edges. So I just have my sky selected, including the small area here. And then it says to select the sky, holding the shift key to select the C2, which we don't have a C. And then create a new layer above the castle layer and name it Clouds 1. Okay. Clouds 1. And even though I created that new layer, I still have this stuff selected. Set the foreground color to black, which I have, and then the background color to gray. So the background color should be, it says gray, 88888. Okay, so I've got a gray in the background. Okay, and then go to Filters, Render Clouds. Filters, where's Render? Render Clouds. Okay, so I've got some dramatic clouds. And it says to change this blending mode to color burn. So I can deselect at this point. Change the blending mode to color burn. Okay, so it's adding some depth to the sky. You can there may be a different blending mode that works better for our image compared to his. I like this linear light mode. I'm going to go with that. And then adding a gradient layer mask. Okay, so you can add a gradient layer mask by adding the mask, picking your gradient tool, and then we should be going light to dark. So what this is doing is hiding kind of some of the bottom effects that we have going on. Yeah. Okay. So there's our clouds. This is showing the steps there. Then this comes into fixing imperfections in the dragon, which you can choose to do or not. Obviously, I have some cleanup that I would want to do here because I imprecisely selected it, that kind of stuff. I'm not going to get into that now for brevity purposes. Then painting some shadows onto the dragon, so you can just use the burn tool of that again. So to make him a little bit more dramatic, you can give some shadow to his undersides a little bit. Maybe the underside of his leg has a little shadow. Maybe there's some shadow back in here. Maybe his foot has a little bit of shadow. Now that our day is a little shady, everything can have a little bit more shadow on it. Okay. Now we've got some more shadow. I think my castle could use a little bit more shading since it's darker now also. Okay. There we go. This is really, the front of his nose is really bugging me. Okay. Paint some shadows over the dragon, which we just did. Okay, this continues doing more shadows. His wings could use some shadows. This is a pretty detailed process for adding shadows. I think we can get a very similar effect just using the burn method from before. I do want to see that you've added some shadows. You maybe don't need to be as detailed as they are in the tutorial, but should have something going on. It gives a few more techniques for shadows. This is darkening some of the details of the eye. These are optional steps, these last couple. So after you add the clouds, definitely add some more shadow into your dragon. But kind of all these steps from after the clouds are done through, so we've got steps 24 through 29. those are somewhat optional. I do want to see shadows on your dragon and on your castle, but you can choose how detailed you do. So now this is rendering more clouds. Oh, this is doing it on top of the whole image. It's doing a filter, render. So it's rendering more clouds. Change the blending mode to overlay and 85%. So this is adding a little bit more kind of dramatic lighting to the image. Okay, then put all your layers into a new folder, duplicate, merge the copy, filter, blur, Gaussian blur. So that's adding even more dramatic lighting. So what it's saying is to duplicate these, group, merge the group, blur this group, filter, blur. And it says 2 pixels radius for the blur. Okay, and then it's changing this to overlay with a much reduced opacity. That gives it even more of an like HDR kind of lighting technique to the image. Okay. So again, some of these are optional, and then finally I do like this photo filter step is nice. So if we go right here to add an adjustment layer, go to photo filter, and it's doing a warming filter, and you can decide what kind of density you want this to be, what color you want the filter to be. I'm going to choose a very kind of deepish orange. Color. Kind of add this coloring to the image. Warming filter. Okay. So this is a dramatic lighting blend. Okay. And that's the end. So I realize I did skip through a couple parts. I'm still at 43 minutes. I was trying to keep this video to a half hour. Didn't really accomplish that. But those are the basic steps. Ooh, looks like I moved something over here. But of this, again, some parts are optional. Part of this tutorial is being able to follow the steps of the tutorial and make that work for your own individual image. So feel free to leave a few out. However, the important parts of this are 1, adding the area to the top so that your guy fits. 2, bringing in the lizard and using the Liquify filter on him. 3, adding wings. Using the Liquify filter on those and making them blend to the body. 4, adding shadows, okay, and masking out part of where he's hidden behind the building. And then lastly, these cloud effects are kind of nice and work well. So those are the major points of this exercise. From there, it's up to you, like how detailed in these steps you want to be. But let me know if you have any questions.